Good morning to all of you. Welcome back to Namaste Village. It is Thursday, and we are diving as deep as humanly possible into the Namaste experience. Actually, diving as deep as divinely real, not humanly possible, but forever and eternally now and real. That is what we have chosen. Not trying to do something that can't be done, but to simply realize that which is forever realized, the truth that is forever true. That is why we are here. So let's begin. How many of you would like to, or how many of you are content with being only partially insane? That's ultimately where we find ourselves. Partially sane, which is the same as still partially insane. You're not wholly insane as perhaps you once were. We have made some decisions, some choices that have brought us into a place of at least partial sanity. Now the only real question is, are we willing to go all the way into completely wholly sane, to see that which can be seen rather than the illusions which the ego takes for reality? How many of you are willing and ready to do that? I see a few hands. Okay, I see a few. Oh, I forgot to mute. Hold on, sweet people are. All right, here we go. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to read one paragraph that I found in the course yesterday. I just opened it up. This came to me, and it really impacted me. And in fact, I'm sure you have all had this experience, whether it be with the Course in Miracles or whatever divinely inspired extension of grace you have been given to wake up to, because it could be the newspaper, it could be a Course in Miracles. It's all the same thing ultimately. They're words, symbols of symbols, so they're twice removed from the truth, but there's something beneath those words that we achieve and receive when we're ready. When the fruit is ripe, it falls off the tree by itself. Okay, you are ripe, you are ready to receive the fullness of the message of love that has always been offered. And that is what I mean by you're ready to become totally sane, to let go of the insane beliefs that we have all held on to for a very long time. And so when I read A Course in Miracles, what happens for me is I'm immediately pulled under. I'm pulled under the surface to that river that is running beneath. So if you imagine there's a huge, mighty river beneath the ground, an underground river, and you're walking along, and you hit a spot where you just fall in, and now you're beneath all of the surface stuff that's going on, and you are pulled by the current of that underground river to the infinite ocean of grace. That's what happens. And so however you feel that, whatever the source is that inspires that, surrender to it. Surrender to that divine current. It will take you where you've always been. It will take you to where you have always, the truth of you has always been, the reality that is forever real. So that being said, let me read this one paragraph and we'll talk about it. You who complete God's will and are God's happiness, whose power or whose will is as powerful as God's, power that is not lost in your illusions. Think carefully while you have not yet decided how you would answer the final question. Let me read that once more because it has so much. You who complete God's will and are God's happiness. Isn't that amazing? You are God's happiness, your reality, whose will is as powerful as God's will. a power that is not lost in your illusions, think carefully why you have not yet decided how you would answer the final question. Your answer to the others has made it possible to help you be already partly sane. Your answer to all the others, that's what's brought you to partial sanity. And yet, it is the final one, the final question that really asks you if you are willing to be wholly sane. Are you willing to be wholly sane, to leave behind all of the illusions that you have clung to, believing that they define you, define your reality, but all they've really done is define your unreality, your illusions. So that paragraph really struck me, this whole idea of the questions that we have answered and answer here every day that have led us at least halfway out of the insane asylum. It's like we're no longer in the building. Now we're in the yard. But there's still a fence around the yard. So now we have to come to the point where the gate opens and we leave altogether. So let's first examine a few of the questions that we have answered, the ones that have brought us at least partially to a point of sanity, where we see only that which is real. So I've written down a couple of them. We can see if we can come up with any more. So here's one. Here's the question. Is my reality based on a body or an identity? What is the answer to that? That didn't sound very resolute. Let me ask again. I'll say because we have to claim it for ourselves. And you just say the same thing. Is my reality based on a body or identity? No. Some of you said yes. That's honest. But it's not, I promise you. Your true identity has nothing to do with your body. Okay. Your reality, rather. Here's another. Is the truth in me vulnerable to attack or disease? No, not the truth in you. Okay. And this goes back to the first. If your reality is not based on a body, then the truth in you is not vulnerable to attack or disease. Your body may be, but that's not who you are. Right? Every piece of clothing that I wear is ultimately going to be thrown in the trash and burned. Every car that I ever drive is ultimately going to end up in the junk heap. But does that affect, losing my clothes or losing my car affect me? Does it change me? No, of course not. And the same is true with the body itself. Our bodies are going to lose their usefulness. The only usefulness that our bodies and our personalities have is that they become communication devices, either for illusions or for reality, for the truth. But there comes a point where this body is no longer useful for that and is laid aside. But that doesn't change who I really am. That doesn't challenge the truth within me. And that's where our focus is, not on the body, not on the identity, but on the reality within that is whole and that is wholly lovable. Okay, here's one more. Does time define my reality? No. Time is what it is in whatever this is. We could call it a dream, we could call it Maya, we could call it whatever, but it is what it is as it is here in this experience, but it does not define my reality. It does not define who I am. I am free and I am as perfect as God created me. So those three are the questions that have brought us to a point of partial sanity. Can anyone think of any more? If any of you can think of one in the Zoom room, write it in the comments and I'll read them. But let's start here with Namaste. Yes, Bonnie. So the question is, does your age, the age of your body, define you? No. It defines the vehicle, maybe. But once again, this vehicle is at some point going to be laid aside, but it doesn't define who you are. Thank you. So what is it? Put that, let me think, how do we put that into the right question? So remember, this is a question that we answer that leads us into a state of partial sanity. So how do you say that, Jet? So what is it that seems to die? Do you, well, that brings us back to the other question. Well, is your reality based on a body or identity? And the answer is no. What seems to die is not who you are. It's not your reality. Do you believe that things outside yourself can really harm you? Which is the same as, is the truth in me vulnerable to attack or disease? And once again, the answer is well, we have believed it, but is it true now? You have come to a point of partial sanity. You maybe once believed that, and maybe you fall back into that belief because the gravitational pull of the ego is so strong. If something starts to happen to our body, something starts to go amiss within our body, are we tempted to once again become fearful because I think that I am my body? Sure. But then you can make a new decision. You can fall back on the reality and the truth within you that knows I am not a body. I am free. I am still as God created me. I just got a couple here. Does your consciousness define your reality? Well, that's a tricky one. Does your consciousness? I guess it depends upon how we define consciousness. Maybe we can say consciousness with a small c and consciousness with a capital C. My consciousness is that which is known by God, whereas my consciousness with a small c is that which is trying to relate with all of the other consciousnesses that I think are separate from me. So does your consciousness in the small c define your reality? No. It may define your interaction, the way you interact with your mighty companions, but it doesn't define your consciousness with a capital C. Okay. Does my past experiences define, do my past experiences define who I am? That's a good one. Answer that question. Let me ask all of you, give me an answer. Do your past experiences define who you are? Not one bit. That's resolute. I like that. All right, here's another. Does what I have learned about the truth define my reality? Does what I have learned intellectually about the truth define? No, because you can learn something intellectually, but never, it stays here. It doesn't take that 12-inch journey to here. So that does not define anything. You can have, and we know people, and maybe we are all one of them. To one degree or another, we are. We can have all of the knowledge here, but it doesn't transform us. It doesn't set us free until we take that journey and what we call the illumined mind and take the journey into the awakened heart. And then suddenly there comes a point in which the illumined mind and the awakened heart merge as one, and then we enter into the illumined soul. I mean, the realized soul. So it's the illumined mind, the awakened heart, and the realized soul. Okay, we're going to do two more, or maybe one more. This comes from Calico. My lessons at different apparent ages are sometimes different. At 20, I did not really worry as much about the body. So my healing may occur differently at different ages. But my reality is very much in the moment, irregardless of the age. My reality is very much in the moment, regardless of the age of this vehicle. All right, has nothing to do with it. But that might change over time, because when I'm younger, maybe I'm not so concerned about my vehicle. When I buy a car, for example, it's running fine for the first couple of years. I don't have to even think about it. Change the oil, put gas in, it's fine. But after 10 years or so, maybe I start to think about it a bit more, because certain things aren't working like they used to. Same with our body, but does that define who you are? No. Okay, so these are all the questions that we have already answered that have brought us to a point of partial sanity. Now, let's go back to what Jesus says to us. He asks, you who complete God's will and are God's happiness, whose will is as powerful as God's, a power that is not lost in your illusions. Think carefully why you have not yet decided how you would answer the final question. So, what's the final question? Anybody have any ideas? Yes. Do I accept the truth of who I am? Good. Anybody else? Yes. What was that again? Are you willing to go all the way, not halfway, but all the way? That's a good question. But the question remains, what does that mean, all the way? Yes. Are you ready and willing? That pretty much says it right there. What I wrote down is, the question is, do I know what is real? Do I know the difference between reality and unreality? And what, yes, that is it. Do I know? Yes. Just even if you forget, I want you to say yes. I'm going to, because there's power just in proclaiming this. There's energy in just saying the word yes. So let me ask that question. Do you know what is real? And what is real? Love is real. Only love. Not the love that we think we know in our minds, not the love that we think about or share with another special person. That's not love. Ultimately, that's defense. That's just defending myself from what I think is out there ready to attack me. I join with another special one, and we form an alliance, and we call it love. What is love really? It's everything. Just as God is everything, just as you are everything. The only thing that is real is love itself. And that is the final question. Are you willing to fully receive that? Fully accept that? Are you willing to see what is real? Give it to me all at once. Are you willing to see what is real? Okay.
Yes.
I like that. Oh, someone got unmuted. Please, if you unmute yourself for a yes, make sure you remute yourself. Yeah, just so everybody knows in the Zoom, I can't hear you because our speaker is off until Vicky comes. So, but I see you. You come up on the screen. That is the road. That is the path that leads to the experience. Yes, I am willing. I am ready to see and to know that only love is real. Do you see how everything comes back to that? Everything returns to the simple proclamation of reality, that only love is real. And once again, you may fall back into these unreal beliefs. I am my body. My age determines whatever it is I think it determines. All of those things will return into your mind. But if you keep going back to that one question that you have now answered and claim that which has always claimed you, you will be free. You will be completely sane. And that's our only goal. So that being said, Vicky, I know you have answered that final question. What would you like to say about that?
Well, Brother James, we're here in the classroom of our lives, to recognize that we are the living Christ, that we're not any of the ideas and bodies and forms that we've made up. And our life is the curriculum, and the bottom line is always, who am I? Because as we come into the experience of that answer, we don't need more direction on what to say or what to do. Because as we experience love as our nature, as our being, love brings its own direction. It's always inclusive, it's always blessing, it's always comforting. And so that's the curriculum we're on. For me, as you were speaking, the bottom line is, am I focused in my consciousness to the world or to the spirit? It's really that simple. To the kingdom of heaven that is within, do I have that consciousness? The kingdom of heaven. That's what Jesus came to proclaim. Come on, he said, it's all around you. I came to give you access to the kingdom. How do you get access? Well, you have to turn away from the kingdom of the world. The kingdom of the world is a realm of experience. It's a realm, an imaginative, dreamlike realm, but it is a realm of experience. If we want the experience of ourselves as the light, as Jesus, Buddha, and many, many saints and souls have done, it is up to us to focus on what is real, the kingdom of heaven. It's that consciousness. Do I want the kingdom of heaven consciousness or the world consciousness? For me, that's always comes up. Yesterday on our conference call, Mary Ann, who's in this room, asked the Holy Spirit in prayer, is it possible to stay in the holy instant all the time? Can we, in other words, can we live in the kingdom of heaven, the invisible kingdom of presence and love and oneness all the time? And his answer to her that came through was very eloquent. It was simple. And it was simply to keep your consciousness aware, stay aware in your consciousness. I'm aware that I'm spirit, and stay constant in asking. Because as we ask, it's already given. As we ask, we're letting our will be spirit's will, God's will. We're not demanding and arrogant that we have an answer, we have a way. So consciously being aware and constantly asking, this holy instant would I give to you? That's how the workbook ends. Be you in charge, for I would follow you. This is a path of following, not leading, but we find ourselves in leadership roles nonetheless, but not by our own doing. We find ourselves in roles where we can extend love. The other criteria I ask myself all the time, am I projecting or am I extending? If there's another great line in the Course that says, if your brother speaks not of Christ to you, it's because you first spoke not of Christ to your brother. So this is an experience. So when something comes up and there's a bump in the road in a relationship or in anything, am I projecting or am I extending the love that I know to be who and what I am, what everything is? So there's a line right there for me. It's like the demarcation lines of the invisible and the visible. And if I'm still projecting, I want to catch myself. That's what the answer to Mary Ann's question was. Be conscious, stay awake. That's what stay awake is. Be conscious, stay awake. That's the Namaste experience. How am I the living Christ? How am I a realized soul? How does my experience, perhaps revelatory as it may be, my heart, as much as it wants to love, come into the realization that I walk the earth in humility, not knowing and not needing to know anything, as the living Christ? How can I do that? Keep my awareness on the kingdom. Keep my awareness on the spirit. If a brother speaks to me not of Christ, let me realize this is the kingdom of the world where everything is a mirror, where everything is my lesson plan to forgive the appearances and elect to the recognition of the spirit. Choose the spirit and let everything bless me. Choose the world consciousness, and I'm in a battle until the end of time. It's really that simple. Time and space is the history of the battle. And awakening and the experience of letting peace, that's why we have silence, to let the errors in our mind float on by so we can acknowledge them and let them go, and to give space for the natural love and peace that we are to rise in our consciousness so that our souls are realized while we're here in time. And that is our curriculum. And so for me, it is really about where I keep my attention, and to be alert for that, to be alert that I keep it on the spirit, that I keep it on that kingdom of heaven. Because don't we want to bring the kingdom of heaven, let it unfold all around us, even while we're here, not as a goal, but as an effect of our naturally being here in our true identity. So, and then I want to say one more thing. When you're talking about relationships, our relationships are our most precious gifts of either specialness, that's how the ego uses it, or of our unity. That's why the specialness of individual relationships very quickly as we rise in consciousness falls away, because we see the allness of everyone and everything being all already connected, but also why the intimacy occurs in communion when we share a purpose of choosing the consciousness of the spirit. There's an intimacy that happens in this Zoom room, at Namaste Village, at any gathering place where brothers are joined around a purpose of healing and truth and awakening. And it doesn't matter if we've never even physically met. We are in such a deep natural communion right in the Zoom room, I feel, as we all do. Most of us do, I think, because we share the intimacy of purpose and the willingness. The Namaste experience is the willingness to practice, to stay awake, to stay aware, to choose the spirit, let everything else go, just dismiss it. It ain't so, it's just a shadow. That willingness takes great effort though. And the brotherhood that we are supported by becomes a touchstone for the light that we are awakening and opening up to each of us and together. Thank you, Brother James. Thanks, everybody. Love you all.
Well, thank you, Vicki. Thank you so much. And I know we're a little bit over our normal half hour, but I'm really feeling Calico's energy very strong this morning. And I, you know, if you have a minute or two, Calico, just to put the cherry on top of the sundae, we would love to hear that.
Hi, everybody. You know, it's all I can say is this process is totally in the moment of now. My lessons, and James know, I went through a major lesson yesterday. My lessons come when they come. And it's not for me to judge them. It's for me to recognize. And this is how my process goes. Recognize I'm projecting, pull back the projection, and drop into immediate prayer with Holy Spirit to see it differently. And I fell into a massive projection yesterday. I haven't done that in a while. And so it required, and I went into deep prayer all day yesterday. I even canceled the Zoom room that I had organized. I literally, because I put my mind's healing above everything else, no matter what. And it's kind of so, I mean, you know, stop, drop, and pray. If I see myself projecting, there is nothing else to do but go into deep prayer to see it differently, or else I will continue to suffer greatly. And I'm not into that anymore. So I must say, I mean, this past week, I hadn't planned on lessons coming up, but they all came up and they were all around something specific, but they were handling different beliefs that were making interpretations on the guidance I was hearing. So until I could really get clear and pull back all these projections, claim it all as my lessons, even though, yesterday there was this week, there were a couple of major lessons I would learn. And I know when I'm faced with a lesson because I have strong feelings coming up. That's how I know I am being triggered by something. And so and this belief I was pulling at had many legs. And so this whole week has been one of pulling each leg out separately to examine it and see that it was not true, that I was making the dream real. And anytime I make this dream real, again, I will suffer. So, I mean, the process, I'm very good at my process now. And all I know is it's in the moment of now when something comes up, and then that's for me to deal with because it's up. So anyway, thank you all. I appreciate just that we're all getting this. And, the one thing, when I canceled the Zoom room, one of the things that gave me great joy was I had many people send me emails, and the emails all kind of said the same thing. Wow, interesting, you're going deeper. I'm feeling like that may be what I need too. And it's like, yes, we all do, because it's the only reason we're here is to keep going deeper. So thank you. I love you.
Thank you, Calico. Yes, that is what we are all called, to answer that final question and to keep answering it. It's not just one time that we say yes. We have to live within that yes. To know what reality is, to know that only love is real, to keep affirming that, and to catch it when we start to project and attack, and then to come back to the only answer that keeps us sane, that keeps us from going back into that insane asylum. Once you're out of the insane asylum, why would you want to go back? Because being out means you know the difference. Now that you know the difference between being sane or in love and completely bonkers, is you know the difference. So why would you want to go back? Let's stay together in that experience of love, of only extending love, not projecting fear. And we say together, Amen, 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 y punto. And so it is. Much love to all of you. Have a beautiful day.
Love
Namaste.
to all of you. I love you. See you
Namaste.
tomorrow.
Thank
See
you.
you tomorrow.
Bye now.
Bye, everybody.